Hey everyone, my name's Abby and welcome to the Brown and Bougie podcast, where I'm keeping it raw, real and relatable. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Brown and Bougie podcast. Hello, it has been a very long time and I'm not going to technically apologize, but I'm low-key going to apologize for basically just ghosting for a while. I'll be honest with you, if you have me on Instagram and you've been previously listening to my podcast, you know that last year was a very big year for me. I got married. So I'm a Mrs. now. Feels very weird, I can't lie. It's been 5 months actually since we've been married. So lots of stuff's been happening and I'm going to actually talk about how married life has been. And I know this might be a little boring for those who aren't there yet or who have gone through this phase or whatever it is. But I honestly feel like there's not enough people who talk about how married life is so different to what you grow up thinking it's going to be. I'll kind of go into a bit more detail about that in a bit, but more than anything, I just want to say thank you so much for everyone who's still following me, still listening, and things like that. I will like to make myself a promise that I will be releasing more content this year and maybe about controversial things and things like that. But you know how I am, I just speak my mind. I kind of just tell you what I think. So it's been a really big roller coaster. I have now moved to another city in the United Kingdom. So I'm quite far away from home, which also, I struggled a lot, I'll be honest with you, and I always say this, and, Asian parents growing up, they always talk about you need to get married and and all this stuff like that, whatever. And you get engaged and that whole wedding process starts. And so much is happening, around the wedding. You're planning events and people are coming over and people are saying, oh, what about the wedding? What about the wedding? And that's pretty much all you talk about. No one really asks you, how are you doing? Like everyone just goes, oh yeah, so how's wedding planning? How's wedding prep? How's wedding this? How's wedding that? Like that's what everyone talks about. But we need to, I noticed a lot that, no one was really asking me how I was, So I would purposely answer and be like, yeah, I'm doing all right. But wedding prep is what it is, like whatever it is. And there's so much hype around the wedding. I was lucky enough, especially with like COVID and things like that, whatever, to have the events and kind of wedding I always wanted. I was very blessed in that aspect. Again, I say this to all of my friends who are in the process of, planning their weddings and things like that. COVID is something that is here to stay, and as much as it's unfortunate and as much as it's annoying and it's frustrating, please, if you are planning your wedding, the one piece of advice I would give you is please make sure you include the fact that COVID can hit at any point. I know of people who had to cancel their weddings 2 days before because someone in their family got COVID. You have to plan according to that. And it's not fun to think about the worst option. However, you do have to think about it. And it just makes you a bit more prepared, especially when so much is happening. Because COVID, honestly, I'll be honest with you, COVID gave me so much anxiety. I can't even tell you. I was praying like every single day. Like I was like, please, like make sure no one in my family gets COVID and whatever it is. And it does definitely counter into the anxiety and the stress levels and things like that, whatever. Sorry, I'm going off topic as I always do. But wedding prep was thing. But I think one thing that Asian people really lack, and I noticed a lot, was everyone talks about the wedding, but no one prepares you for what happens after the wedding, right? On the wedding day, everything happens. It's a great day, whatever it is. And then no one tells you what happens after. No one tells you, how do you deal with marriage? How do you deal with such big change? Because it's probably one of the biggest changes you're going to experience in life, right? Like you're moving with someone and like just being in their space all the time and them being in your space and you being in their space. Like it's a big change. It's big change in terms of, you have a new family who are, very close to you and things like that. There's people you need to consider. There's things you need to consider in terms of who comes first and whatever it is. And I think there's so many things to it that no one talks about enough. And I think that's probably what made me a bit more, like I struggled with it a lot more than I thought I would. And I've been preparing to get married for like 2 years, right? Like I knew 2 years ago, yeah, okay, cool, we're going to get married, whatever it is. But I think when it actually happened, I didn't really know how to deal with it. And I think that's something that I would probably just like kind of pre-warn and just think about it, because it is a lot. And like I said, I've moved to another city. For those who know me, I'm a massive family person. I'm a massive friends person. I'm super social. I like to be around people all the time. I'm always like either I'm in my room, in my own space, watching TV 24/7, or I'm just like socializing with people. I just need to be around people. So all of a sudden I moved to a city that's quite far away from me because my husband works further away from home, and I really struggled. I'm not even joking. I think I was pouring my eyes out every single day for like 2 weeks because I was just so like, it was such a big change and I didn't know how to deal with it, and like there was no one really physically here, and like I knew like all of my friends were around, all of my family were around, whatever it is. I'm like, I don't want to bother them with my problems, and like it's really weird. I don't know how to describe it, but I'll be honest with you, like people always ask me, how's married life? And I think it's great. I think, we are really now in our element, like we are getting used to being around each other and like things like that, whatever. But it's a big step. It is hard. Like, there is no way out of the way to sugarcoat it. And I think my husband's found it hard and I've found it hard. But I think actually what helps is actually talking about it and being like, I'm struggling with this and, I'm struggling with this. And okay, cool. How can we kind of work around it? Because it's a lot of change that comes pretty much overnight, and you don't know how to deal with it, right? Like whatever. And I think for me, it was a bit different as well because my husband's been living out here for 5 years, and he has his own place, he has his own space, and I came in and I didn't, I was just like, where do I move in? Like, I think it's different for couples who are moving in together into a brand new place together, because it's like, okay, you can go in and just divide your space and be like, okay, this cupboard's for me, this cupboard's for me, whatever it is. Whereas I was kind of taking over his space. So it was different for him. And it was also different for me, if that makes sense. So it's a big change. And I think what's really brought us together, what helped us both get through it in our own ways, was probably just being there for each other. And I know that sounds really cheesy and whatever it is, but you have to always remember, like, I always say this, like, no one in this world understands what you're going through, but there's someone in this world who understands at least 50% of what you're going through, right? Like, there was no better person to talk to than my husband, as opposed to my cousins, my family, my friends, because they're not experiencing the same thing. So it is a bit weird, like, everyone deals with stuff their own way, but I know that like at the beginning I did really struggle. And I think more than marriage, it was just such a big change of moving away and whatever. And yeah, don't get me wrong, I didn't know I was going to move, but I think when it actually happens and when that change comes, it's just weird. But I think what also helped me was I was going home pretty much every weekend. So, I because all my family friends are in London and so is my husband. So we were coming back basically every weekend. So actually that helped me as well. And, just to make sure, I was touch basing with my mum every day, and I would message my sister and like things like that, whatever. So just to keep in touch with everybody, like that really does help. So if you are going through that, please do reach out to people. I think that's the one thing I'll definitely say. Talk to people and just, it will pass and you will get used to it. It's just habits. It's just a new thing that's going to change and you will get there. But no, I'll be honest with you, those are the time I was like, oh my God, this is how I felt when I was at uni, because uni was great, whatever, but I was generally as a person very homesick. So yeah, if you are going through that big of change, please do reach out. And also the same way, if you know someone who is just got married and going through some change and whatever it is, do reach out to them and just ask them how they are. Sometimes it just helps to FaceTime someone and just be like, oh my God, I'm finding this so hard. But also it's okay to be like, I'm finding it okay. Like it's okay for you to feel like it's hard. It's okay for you to feel like it's going great. It's okay for you to feel like it's only going okay. That's fine. But it's just, so sometimes we need to take that perception and that thing of like marriage is the best ever thing in the whole entire world. And like there is nothing hard about it. That's not right. I don't think there's any marriage in this world which hasn't been hard at one point. So I think that's just one thing to remember. But yeah, like I said, whether or not you are going through this or whether or not you know someone who's going through, please do reach out. That's the main thing. You always have to remember that you have a support work around you. You have a network around you, and please do utilize that is what I'm going to say. But apart from that, like we've been, just getting used to each other's like routines, our habits. We've also been doing the house up and stuff. So that's kind of why I haven't really been putting out content and stuff. Because you know what I always say, like, I'm not going to put out content for the sake of putting it out. I want to put it out because it's worth me putting it out. So Is someone asks me how's married life, at the beginning I would have been like, yeah, it's very hard, it's very, very hard. But now I think we've got to a point where, yeah, you know, we're just used to each other, and actually, you know, and I know it sounds really cheesy, but to not see my husband for say like 2 days, it feels very weird. Like it feels very, very weird, although technically like that's how we used to be before the wedding. It just feels a bit weird. So I think you just get to that point, and it's probably just time that is just taken us. And, you know, I always say with most stuff in life, time is the best healer, and it has been a really good healer here. So yeah, so no, lots of experience, definitely lots of new things, you know, like, you know, we had our first Diwali, we had our first Christmas, our first New Year. And like, I know it might not seem like a big deal. You know, Christmas Day, I had traditions with my family growing up, and my husband had his own kind of traditions growing up. So it's about trying to be like, okay, which house do we go to now? Okay, do we need to plan our date? Okay, what do we do? Like whatever it is. And, you know, until we get to a point of, you know, when we have our own family in terms of kids and things like that, then up until then, it's going to be that we're going to have to, you know, manage each other's traditions, kind of combine them together and find what works for us. So yeah, so it has been a lot of change, great change actually. And yeah, we have a lot to do, kind of thing. You know, we did say we were going to travel a bit more, whatever it is, but we've just been so busy doing up the house, managing our social calendars, which is now double the size because there's 2 of us together. So yeah, it has been very weird. I don't really know how else to describe it, but yeah, I think weird is definitely like lots of ups, lots of downs, but it's been great kind of thing. So for today's Tune of the Day /tutida session, as you probably can remember, I can't actually play the actual track as part of my podcast because of copyright issues, which is very annoying. However, I will still carry on just recommending songs this year, and I have done in the past, just because if you don't know, music is a massive part of my life, and you know, music's the thing that gets me up in the morning, puts me to sleep. It's just my fave thing. So today's Tune of the Day is a bit of an upbeat song just to start the year off a bit. Is one of my most played songs in 2021. Thank you to Spotify Wrapped. But it is Nice to Meet Ya by Wes Nelson and Young Bane. Thanks again for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like, comment, share and subscribe. To catch all the latest from me, you can follow me on Instagram at the Brown and Bougie Podcast. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time.